Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the mid-season finale of Arrow. What a crazy good episode. It's kind of what I wanted, because from the very beginning, Prometheus is like, I'm not going to kill Oliver. I'm going to essentially destroy him, basically wreck everything in his life, because it's like he's got targets on everyone. First person he hit was Curtis, and that was crazy because him and Curtis and his husband Paul are having that whole conversation, because it's Paul doesn't believe Curtis about all the stuff he's doing. It's the project he's supposed to be working on, Felicity, and it's he didn't believe all that conversation they were having at the party, but it's just kind of whatever. He's like, are you cheating on me? And Curtis is like, no. All of a sudden you see slow-mo, boom, fucking throwing star comes, slices his throat. I was like, ooh, it was sick. Granted, there's two moments in the episode that's like that. They really kicked up the slow-mo in this episode. But at first that, and it just looked so sick, because from the way it looked and the way the blood splattered, I was like, dude, how deep did that, I was thinking that's what was going to take Curtis out. I was like, oh man, he's bleeding from his neck. I thought it cut deep in a lot of his neck, just not the side of his neck. But it was okay, he actually went and fought up against Prometheus for a little while. Still kind of got his ass handed to him, plus got a blade thrown into him. It's just was not Curtis's day. But the other moment later on, when Oliver shoots the arrow at him in its slow modes, and he throws the throwing star through it and splits it out, I was like, dude, that was sick. I get really hyped up about some slow mo. Just it's one of those things. I think everyone gets like that about slow mo. It's just the coolest thing ever, the coolest way to convey something. So I think especially the Flash really out of any show, I think pushes that a lot too. Just because it's when you see Barry kind of slowing down, he did. I didn't bring it up in the last episode, but him slowing down and throwing a lightning bolt. Nevertheless, that's about Flash. This is supposed to be focusing on Arrow, which there are some things I kind of want to bring up comparisons between the two, but I'll kind of get to that in a little bit. But it's just Prometheus is going hard after Oliver, basically attacking everyone that's close to him. The crazy thing is about Evelyn's betrayal, she finally came out and opened as you're not a hero. This city needs saving from you. And I'm I get it. You're pissed at Oliver, you found out about him being a killer and everything. Because they end up pointing out, they're that's most likely when she started actually working with Prometheus, is after she found out about him being the Hood. And it's but what does that change? I get it changes things, but it's to warrant you wanting him dead. Even then, okay, I can excuse, you have your own beef with Oliver, you always had your problem with Oliver, but it got even resurged even more because you found out he was a killer, that he's not the good guy that you were hoping him to be. It's yeah, your whole family situation already kind of makes you not like him, but it's you could push past it because you thought he was a hero, but now you find out he's a killer too, so it's that little bit of Oliver that she liked and kind of looked up to and thought was inspiring is completely destroyed by knowing the truth. But it's at the very least, okay, I can slightly understand your reasoning for hating Oliver. But the thing is, why go after everyone else around him? You know this means that it's not just going to be Oliver who's dragged into this. You know, you're even helping him. You even got pictures of some of the people that's on his list. People that are close to Oliver to target. It's he did that to Curtis. They've been nice to you. They've been kind of a second family to you. And you do that to them. And it's Evelyn had the audacity to get everyone presents. Get presents, kind of those stalkings for Renee, Rory, and Diggle, and it's being all friendly and everything, and oh man, you guys are the family I don't have and whatnot, and it's really, and then you immediately stabbed him in the back. It's what sense does that make? How almost cold-hearted of you, because it's oh, you're their smiling face and acting you're all friendly with everyone. It's oh, you're my family, and now I'm turning to get you. I've actually been betraying you for a while. It's dude, that's such a kick in the teeth. Like I say, I get Oliver, but it's why target them too? And in the grand scheme of things, I guess arguably she was okay with it because she knew it would mean he wouldn't kill, that Prometheus wouldn't kill them, because the whole point is to destroy Oliver's life, not necessarily kill the people that are in close proximity to people that are very important to him. So I'm guessing that's one reason why she was kind of okay with it, because it's yeah, there might be people hurt along the way, these people that I've kind of gotten close to and everything. Or maybe in Evelyn's mind, it's all linked together. It's they're part of the disease. the fact is that Oliver is a disease that's affecting Star City. It has been for the past 5 years. And so it's like, now we got to cut it off at the root, but also scrub away all the other infection that he's created, that being Felicity, Diggle, Wild Dog, Ragman, even Curtis. But it's like, that's why I'm like wondering, or was Curtis meant to only be like a warning shot? But then at the same time, it's like, and then another point I got to bring up is, she complains about him being, like, Oliver being a killer. It's like, what about Prometheus? He's a killer too. I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's not even just bad guys he's killing. Let's not forget, he straight up killed a whole bunch of cops. He's been killing a lot of innocent people just to get at Oliver. And that's what I'm always like, you can't really look at him and look like he's necessarily in the right. Yes, Oliver's got to pay for what he's done in the past. And that's what's so crazy about this season. And that's kind of what I want to bring up, the comparison between this and Flash. These are the seasons of like, hey, like the past is coming back to haunt you. And, Barry's got to deal with the ramifications for Flashpoint. Oliver has to deal with the ramifications for what he's done for the past, like, 5 years. Yes, he changed things up after Tommy died, but that still doesn't change the fact of all the people he's killed when he originally came back to Starling City back in the beginning. And then on top of that, probably all the people he killed like during his training and everything that happened in that 5 year period he was gone. So it's like, you could also look at it as like payback for what happened then. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. Like, because I've never seen a story turn around so hard on a person. Because it never would have crossed my mind that Oliver would really have to pay for what he did. Because mainly everyone thought that was all done by the Hood, the vigilante, who everyone thinks was Rory. And so, not Rory, Roy. So it's like, and he's, everyone thinks he's dead. So it's kind of like, okay, then what, so he doesn't really have to worry about that. But it's like, nope, this season is about like, dude, you can never escape from your past. You try to reinvent yourself over and over again, but it still doesn't take away the fact of what you've done, especially when they end up finding out who Prometheus possibly is. I mean, for now, we're kind of thinking it's this guy named Claiborne who Oliver dealt with in the past. Specifically, he's one of the people Oliver killed back when he came back to Star City, one of the people on the list. Because apparently this dude, basically, there was a medication. He was basically... like originally the drug was like a reasonable enough price that even people from low income families could pay for it, but then like he skyrocketed the price for it. Oliver came to him, told him to drop the price, but he didn't, because apparently he worked with a group that basically spread tuberculosis, because there was like an epidemic of tuberculosis spreading around, and it turns out that he was behind it, and Oliver put him down for that. And you even had that moment in the episode where you have Prometheus ripping, like actually reenacting, like Oliver goes to that final showdown towards him, and it's like you see him reenacting everything, like the body placements, to match what Oliver did back then. So like I'm saying, that's what they're saying, like, because they're saying like apparently that guy's son, because he would be about 30 now, is Prometheus, and this is all about revenge for his dad. So I'm guessing that's why Evelyn is behind this, because it's like she understands, because in her mind, it's like her family kind of paid the price because of Oliver. And it's like, she kind of feels like the same thing with Prometheus. It's like they're in this for the same reason, to get revenge against Oliver. Like, another thing I'm throwing out there is just kind of a thought that was in my head. We don't really know, this might actually be a double cross situation, because you take the character of Artemis, like I said, entering spoiler territory for Young Justice. Artemis, as well as Aqualad, kind of went undercover when it came to the whole situation. So it's like she could be pretending to be a bad guy. I mean, granted, more so than anything, she faked her death, but then she disguised herself as someone else. So, I mean, obviously she's not faking her death, but I mean, she could be playing on Prometheus' side just to get close to him, or maybe she legitimately, I don't know. It's hard to say. I really doubt it, but it totally could be a possibility. But it's just like, I don't really understand her reasoning behind it. It's like, other than, I guess, because revenge fuels her heart. It's like, like I said, because of like the last hope she had for Star City is like, okay, at least we can make the city a better place if we follow Green Arrow. It's like, oh, apparently the Green Arrow is nothing but a killer. So it's like, you're not even a hero. But it's like, you're joining up with a guy that's not a hero either. So it's like, because what does she want in the long run? That's the question. She's like, okay, this city needs protecting from me, but it's like, what does she think is going to happen in the long run? Like, does she think everything would be better once Oliver's dead? I mean, as we've, time and time again, these types of shows show you that revenge won't solve anything. It still leaves you just as empty on the inside. And so killing Oliver won't change anything. But I guess in her mind, it's like, hey, stopping Oliver from destroying other people's lives. Which is kind of what Prometheus is trying to point out to him. It's like, you do nothing but destroy people's lives. And man, did everything fall apart in this episode, dude. And that's what's so crazy about it. Literally everyone walked away a little broken in this episode. Only people that kind of didn't maybe were Wild Dog and Renee. I mean, Wild Dog is Renee. I meant Rory Ragman. Like, they're like only ones who kind of walked away from this whole thing. Because initially, I mean, obviously talk about the like real kick in the teeth in the episode was Oliver killing Billy. And I should have known something was up because they were setting it up too easily. It's like, okay, oh, Billy, meet my friends, meet my ex. And it's like, they were setting that up so hard. It's like, oh, dude. Because the episode started off so nice. Like I said, Felicity bumbling, kind of introducing Billy to Curtis and Paul. Then to Oliver and Sue. She ended up talking to Susan. It's like, oh, yeah, this is like the super hot reporter. And you have like Susan going like, oh, okay, thanks. And then she's like, oh, Billy, yeah, this is Oliver and Susan. It's like, we should totally go on a double date. And it's super awkward and everything, but it's still nice. But it's like, dude, like, it was just set up for that. And it was just like, I was like, because I kept thinking at every point you turn, it's like, okay, that's where the dude Claiborne died in that pool. So I was like, okay, he's going to find Billy. And when the camera turned towards the stairs at first, I was like, oh man, we're about to find Billy strung up. I was like, oh, he's not. I was like, something's going to go down. He's going to kill Billy in front of him. But I did not expect it to be like Oliver straight up killed him. And I also got to give props to Oliver. He could have easily done the douchebag thing in line, but like, yeah, it was Prometheus. He killed Billy. It's like, no, he admitted. He was like, Prometheus had him duct taped, and it's like, he knew I would go for the kill, and I killed Billy. You know, he didn't try to like manipulate it and being like, you know, he didn't straight up say Prometheus necessarily. He didn't use the words trick me into killing Billy. He's like, straight up, I killed Billy. And it's just like, dude, that was some hardcore crap. Because that's the thing, like, what does Evelyn think she's doing? Like, I know you have like, once again, I can't stress that enough. You have a problem with Oliver, sure, but you're willing to hurt everyone around him just because I guess she feels like they indulge Oliver's terrible behavior. They stick by him even with everything he's ever done. So once again, kind of cutting out the infection as well, not just the virus, but also the other infected areas, including them. So maybe that's what about, because at the end of the episode, we see Diggle was captured. It seems like what most likely happened, what could have been a thing, is that Prometheus used Lila's voice to kind of trick him to coming back home, where he knew. It looks like that might be the because that didn't look like military. That looked like that might have been the anti-unit that Oliver created. It looked like it was them. So Prometheus probably like ratted, you know, Diggle out. Then it's like the fact is Felicity's got to deal with Billy's death, and it's like, that is just how that sucks. It's like, you know, obviously they had their problems in the past, but Felicity and Oliver got to a good place in this season. I mean, they got their last season, but they're definitely there in a good place this season. And on top, it's just like, dude, that sucks. It's like she's going, like, every time like she looks at Oliver, she's going to remember the fact that he killed Billy. Yes, it was Prometheus, but it still doesn't change the fact is that he's the one that put the arrows into him. And then, you know, it's like, you probably almost like how Rory and her, it almost creates that same dynamic that Rory and Felicity had, where every time they looked at each other, it was a reminder of, what was it, Haven Lock? So it's probably a similar situation on that. Plus, that's why I was also worried about the whole Susan situation of him and Susan being together, because, like, it's almost unfair, because it's like, oh, you get to be happy, but I don't. Because, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how Felicity reacts. We see her being like, no, it's not your fault. This was Prometheus. You can say that, but there's always going to be a part of her that will look at Oliver as the person who still killed Billy. And for Oliver, you know, for him, this is like everything coming back to haunt him. It's like his entire world is crashing around him. He hurt one of the people, not just one of the people, everyone that he loves, it cares for dearly. He hurt them in some shape or form, because the whole Diggle situation is coming back to bite him in the ass, because he broke Diggle out of prison. So that's going to backlash on Lila and John Jr. like I said, I still think out of anyone, Renee and Rory are the only ones that kind of came out okay. An interesting thing was you had Renee kind of talking like, he's like, yeah, being a father, kind of, talking from experiences. And Diggle was like, do you have kids? Never got an answer to that. But it's like, maybe he does, or at the very least did. So maybe that's the reason why he does what he does. I mean, I'm definitely like to get more on that, but that to me, that was just the biggest kick in the teeth. I just had to take a deep breath after the whole Billy reveal. I was like, the moment he shot the arrows, I was like, he got hit too. He's just like, don't, oh, Billy, oh, that sucks. Especially because Billy was like, the reason why he kept pushing so hard is because it's like, Felicity is telling him, it's like, no, you don't look into this whole Prometheus, like, throwing knife star killer thing. Well, Prometheus thing. It's like, let us handle it, which is like, well, to be fair, Billy has more authority in this. You guys are kind of vigilantes and stuff like that. He's the only one that really has authority to be looking into this, but he dived too deep and he got too close to the sun and he found out, I guess more so than anything, it was because it was meant to create a rift between Felicity and Oliver, because it was kind of to show like the fact is he hurts everyone around him. Because like you take even Curtis's situation where Curtis is like, Paul gave him an ultimatum, but then Paul was like, I don't want to be the person that gives you that ultimatum, like choosing to be a vigilante or be with me. And he's like, the fact of the matter is, I've never seen you be so happy. Even all those times you came back beaten up, you were happy. And it's like, because the fact of the matter is, like, wasn't it last season that the whole thing about, or was that season 3? I can't remember. But there was a whole thing about Curtis. He was kind of working with the vigilante at the time, and it's like he kind of walked away from it because he found out how dangerous it was and just kind of focused on Paul. But this time it was different because it was like, because he knew it was going about things differently. It's like, yeah, like Green Arrow hurt people and stuff like that, but at the very least, it's like you were doing a good thing, and it's like he felt like this was something he had to do as kind of his calling. But, it's like even he's kind of broken after this because, all this whole situation ended up causing, him to kind of reveal to Paul that he's, a vigilante. But at the same time, like, Paul already had his suspicions. He didn't believe what was happening with Curtis's life. But this whole circumstance kind of pushed it even more to the surface. Because even if Prometheus hadn't attacked, the fact of the matter is Paul was already suspicious. Like, that's what led them outside in the first place. Because, like, the fact of the matter is like, he thought he was cheating on him, so... And then, like, a very fascinating thing about this episode, I kind of brought it up in comparison to last week's episode, too, was the fact is that there was actually no flashback. I guess considering the circumstances of the episode, kind of the story they were trying to tell, obviously they weren't going to have flashback, but I think it was also because it's like, technically the entire episode is almost like a flashback because it's like bringing a lot of stuff that you haven't seen since like the first season, a lot of old elements back in a shape or form, so I guess you could look at it as that flashback. But in this one, the main aspect of the episode was flashing back not to like, stuff to deal with him in Russia. This dealt with stuff from him back in the beginning of the series, back in season 1, like some hooded vigilante stuff. So it's like exactly 4 years ago, and it's like that's a first for this series, isn't it? I could be mistaken about that, but that was kind of the first time that's ever happened. There's always been stuff connected with Lian Yu in the 5 years he was gone. This is the first time it started referencing the fact that it's like, that time here, because that is the question. Like, this is the 5th year of flashback, so it's like, will there be no flashbacks in the future? Because they do have plans to go further with Arrow after this. Because that was just kind of like, and that's what I found fascinating, is like hearing someone else's perspective on it, being like, this is all a culmination of everything that's happened to Oliver. Like, his past is coming back to haunt him. And that basically this whole season is supposed to be a closing chapter for Oliver's life. Like, everything that Oliver came back to Star City to do, this is him, the kind of closing chapter, kind of to close the chapter on the Hood, the vigilante, all of them, and simply be the Green Arrow he's meant to be, the Green Arrow that you know of, and not this, like, killer. Like, it'd be interesting to see where he goes from here. Like, I mean, not even, because that'd be kind of, I can't even fathom getting to there. It's like, how does he overcome this? Someone that knows his life inside out, that plans on destroying him. It's like, there's a guy that knows so much about you, but you know very little about him. Because there was that moment during his Prometheus fight, which looked pretty awesome. And it seemed like he was handling his own until Prometheus did this kind of one move, and he had Oliver pausing. I was like, why did he stop there? And it's like, because I was like, did he recognize it? And he brings it up. Apparently someone in Russia taught him a very similar move. So it's like, they're kind of pointing out, it's like, maybe this entire time Prometheus has taken this like 4 years to kind of train and learn everything there is to know about Oliver. That's why I'm kind of bringing up the fact is that Prometheus already knew who Arrow was before, like, Tetch ever, not Tetch, I'm crossing series here, sorry. Before Tobias even told him. That's kind of my running thoughts, like, was that the case or not? Which, it's hard to say, and it's just like, dude, like, you kind of thought Team Arrow was in a rough position at the end of season 4, and they're like right back to a tough position. Like, he's telling everyone they should stay away from him, but it's like, they're like, no, we will stay by you during this tough time. It's like, but I mean, now I think about it too, it's like Thea hasn't necessarily been screwed over yet. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I say that about them, but it's like, there's always time for Prometheus to come after him. And it's like, I really want to know what Evelyn is thinking, dude. Like, these are people who trusted her that she's stabbing in the back, dude, hard. Like, the fact of the matter is, how can you work with someone that you think is like, oh yeah, like, Oliver's a bad guy, but it's like, it's not like Prometheus is much better. But I guess the reason why she's working with Prometheus is because she has a personal vendetta against Oliver. So if it's because of that. But like I said, she kind of moved past that, but it's like finding out him being a killer. That's why I'm like, I don't understand her reasoning for backing Prometheus. Like, is it just her hatred of Oliver is just that strong? And like, is Prometheus really that Claiborne dude's son? Or, and if that is the case, like, because I don't think it's the DA. I think I brought that up before. I'm pretty sure the DA dude is Vigilante. I'm pretty sure, especially the way he brought it up in his episode. He's like, oh, yeah, when it comes to Prometheus, gotta shoot him on sight. It's like he's taking down some of the police officer, good people. It's like, no, take him out. So I'm pretty sure he's Vigilante. It makes you wonder where that's going to go from here, too. It's like, because eventually Vigilante's probably going to take justice into his own hands and try to go after. Because the last time we saw Vigilante was in the Flash part of the crossover. So, like I said, man, it was just, after everything they've been through, they stopped an alien attack, and then on top of that, like, having to leave behind that world that the Dominators created for them. For Theo, it was kind of like, yeah, but it just reminded me of how much I love being a part of this family, that, kind of not to take it for granted. It's just like, this happens. And then finally the episode ends on off, like, with the biggest, like, wait, what the fuck type of twist. And it's like, oh, Laurel's back. And it's like, wait, what? So bringing back the original thought from like back in season 4 is like, so did Laurel fake her death? Because that was the question. It's like, because if that was the question, you put a lot of people through a lot of hell. So, because that was kind of the whole thought, because it's like they cut away from it, but then they cut back to it to hear some more of that conversation. It's like, we never really found out like what exactly went wrong that led to her death. I mean, part of my brain is also like, just kind of theorizing. Well, I keep saying theorizing, but just thoughts. Could be like Earth 2 Laurel. I mean, I don't remember if she got sent back to Earth 2 or not. I forgot what was her name. Is it Black Siren? Was that her name? I don't remember. Like, that could be the case, or maybe it really is Laurel. Maybe Oliver knew this entire time because they faked her death, or maybe Oliver's like, wait, how are you alive? Like, that's the question. It's like, maybe he'll start thinking like, is this a Flashpoint thing? It's like, no, it shouldn't work like that. So, a crazy mid-season finale. Like, I don't know, man. Like, because I think my favorite mid-season finale so far. I mean, dude, this show always does a good job of getting you that twist. Like the whole like season 3s where Oliver, quote unquote, died by Ra's or Ra's al Ghul's hand. So it's hard to say which one. Like, from like a oh my goodness, the hero might be dead type of situation, season 3 has an upper hand, but just like pure devastation all across the board. It's like, granted, not everyone got hit as hard as Felicity did and as hard as Oliver did, because the fact is he killed an innocent person, especially that innocent person being someone important to the person that he cares about the most. It's like, but still, just that emotional hit, man. It's just like, oh, I have to wait till January 25th to find out, but I cannot wait, dude. Just, all the CW shows, in my opinion, have been on point. Supergirl's been killing it. Just everything's been killing it. Flash has been killing it. It's just like, and also that's another thing too, deaths on both shows, because it's like, the fact that matters, we find out about Iris in the Flash, and is now dealing with this, and it's just, there's so many questions. Something that was running through my mind is like, could it be Susan? Like, could it not? Maybe like Prometheus isn't necessarily the son necessarily. Maybe it is, or maybe it's actually Susan, and maybe that's why she held on to the information about The fact that she hasn't, like I said, maybe she's trying to give Oliver that month, or maybe she's covering her own tracks because the fact is that it's like, oh, Oliver being in Russia, maybe, it's to cover up the fact is that she was in Russia, that maybe she's actually kind of a hired gun by the Sun or something like, I don't know. It most likely is Claymore's son, but is it, because that's the thing, like, I mean, you could look at it as like, oh, that's very simplistic, but at the same time, I mean, that's kind of how a lot of great villains are started, just because of one circumstance. Him doing what he believed was the right thing at the time, like, has come back to hit him, like, tenfold. I mean, like I said, how do you face an enemy? Like, he's just a normal person, but he's someone that knows so much about you, and you know very little about him. He knows where to hit you, and who to hit to affect him. So, as we saw, the whole Lance situation was just a prelude to this. So, just like I said, overall, just a crazy episode, and I cannot wait to see where it goes from here. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.